Royina, I have type 1 diabetes and welcome back to my channel. So this week I want to talk about how I maintain a consistent A1c level between about 6 and 6.5. Now these are tips that I follow and these have helped me keep a consistent A1c, and I would suggest that you try out some of these but not without your doctor's consent and not without letting someone else know that these are things you're thinking about. But these are just like some general guidelines that I follow and I found them to work for me, so perhaps they might be helpful for you. So let's get into it. So, to begin with, what is an A1c? So your A1c or HbA1c is basically your 3 months, your average blood sugar for the last 3 months, and for diabetics this should be somewhere between about 6 and 8. Now why is it important to have an A1c between this range? Why can't you have an A1c of like say 10 or 30? Because the minute your A1c is that high, it means that you are vulnerable to the various complications of diabetes. For example, you may have kidney damage, you may go into DKA, you may start losing your eyesight, numbness in your feet, etc. So that is why it is really important to have an A1c between 6 and 8. And why shouldn't you have an A1c lower than 6? Because that means that you're constantly having hypos or low blood sugar, which is also dangerous because you could go into a coma and die. So it is important to keep it between a certain range. But something that is difficult for all diabetics is to stay consistently between that range. I'm sure like a lot of us would have had huge variations. There would be months at a time when we would be between about 6 and 8, and then suddenly you shoot up to 10 and you don't really know what you've done. So this is about how I keep it between 6 and 8. So when I was diagnosed in DKA, so of course my A1c was 13 plus. And the number one thing that I did was change my diet and exercise routine. Now what I want to emphasize on here is that I had an extremely healthy lifestyle and diet routine that I used to follow before I was diagnosed too. It's not that I was an unhealthy eater or had a poor lifestyle, because again, type 1 diabetes is not a lifestyle disorder. I should put that as my status on Facebook or something. Anyways, so I completely changed my diet and exercise routine and I found that to be quite helpful. I made my diet a medium carb diet and I focused on having about 20 grams of fiber a day, about 70 to 90 grams of protein, 20 grams of fat and about 70 grams of carbs per day. It's important that you break down your food into a macronutrient level so that you know exactly what you're eating. Now that is what I found to work for me, but there are some diabetics who are only able to maintain a good blood sugar at a high carb diet. There are some who go completely keto and cannot tolerate carbs at all. It is important that you find out what diet combination works best for you. How do you find out what diet combination works best for you? Well, it's simply through trial and experimentation, and the most important thing is listening to your blood sugar. If your blood sugar is consistently high, even pre-meals, post-meals, and you find yourself continuously taking correction doses in order to bring it under control, then it either means you're taking too little insulin or maybe you need to modify your diet. So if that is something you're facing, I would say first try out different diets. I have found that Indian food is really high in carbs, but a lot of doctors suggest that Indian diets are good because we are Indians and we're used to that sort of diet. Though I found that abandoning it completely has really helped bring my blood sugar under control. I found that abandoning the Indian diet has really been helpful for me because all the things that we eat, the sabzi or cooked vegetables, or dal or lentil soup, rotis, things like that, I found that they were really high in carbs. All of them have a lot of carbs. So I didn't really find that to be a very nutritional diet personally. But if that is something you want to follow, again, I would suggest seeing if that actually works for you or not. If it does, great. If it doesn't, maybe it's time to rethink your dietary choices. Second thing is exercise. Now, I found that exercise is the most important thing when it comes to blood sugar control. A lot of people don't exercise and they only control their blood sugar with diet and insulin, and that's not very helpful. Think about it this way: if you didn't have diabetes, how would you ensure that you led a healthy lifestyle? I mean, you would eat healthy food, but you would also exercise on a daily basis. So exercise is definitely really important. I exercise 6 days a week and I do yoga on the 7th day of the week. I do HIIT cardio, but again, I would suggest that you find out the type of exercise that suits you the best. For some people, the type of exercise that really suits them is weight training, for some others it could be Pilates, it could be simply running on the streets, it could even just be walking. But it's really important that you have a regular exercise routine and you're putting in at least 30 minutes of exercise a day. It really does help your blood sugar numbers over time. So you'll see that at the moment you exercise, your blood sugar is probably going to go up, but throughout the day it sort of compresses it into a certain range, so it stays at a certain level, stays stable rather than fluctuate a lot, and I found that to be useful. Now, the next most important thing when it comes to diabetes management is consistency. What do I mean by consistency? That means that you eat the same number of carbs per meal. You eat your meals at the same time every single day. Why is that important? And here again, you try to take the same amount of insulin every single day. Why is that important? Because you're telling your body that you're not sure about what you're doing. So your body is going all over the place. There are some meals which are causing it to go really high up. There are some meals which are not causing any fluctuations at all. So it's very hard to have a stable blood sugar number throughout the day when you're going to fluctuate what you're taking, how much insulin you're taking, and what you're eating and what time you're eating at every single day. I eat my meals at fixed times. My breakfast is always at 7 in the morning. My lunch is always at 1 in the afternoon, and my dinner is always at 7 in the evening. I always eat the same number of carbs per meal and take the same amount of insulin. And that has really changed the way my blood glucose numbers move, because they're so stable, I can't even tell you, like, they don't move at all. And I know exactly what to expect before and after every meal. Next thing I would suggest is that you increase your intake of protein on a daily basis. Now, whether you're someone who's vegan, vegetarian or non-vegetarian, and especially in India, most type 1 diabetics are vegetarian. That means that they don't get enough protein in the day. But I have found that protein is really good for stabilizing your blood glucose numbers, because whenever you eat protein and take insulin, your blood sugar will stay constant. It doesn't cause fluctuations because it doesn't have those many carbs. So no, even if you are on like a relatively higher carb diet, I would suggest incorporating a lot of protein into your diet. And for vegetarians, this doesn't mean that you eat dal. Dal has very little amount of protein in it. What it means is that you try to find other better sources of protein. For example, tofu rather than paneer. Eat a lot of tofu, eat a lot of chickpeas. Those are things that are helpful rather than, things which are a little fatty, such as paneer or cottage cheese or dal. I mean, dal is not a good source of vegan or vegetarian protein, so please don't have that in such large quantities. That has a really high number of carbs again. So, and of course for non-vegetarians, lean protein, chicken, fish, lean beef, lean pork, those are good options to have, but try to incorporate protein at least twice or thrice a day. And again, for vegetarians, eggs are a really good option. And there's a misconception in India that eggs are non-vegetarian, but they are not. Eggs that are commercially sold in markets over here are not fertilized, so you can choose those as an option if you're vegetarian and if that is the reason you've been avoiding eggs. But if you are completely against it and you don't want to eat it, tofu is your best friend. That's what I would suggest. Last thing I would suggest is moderation, and use a combination of techniques when it comes to blood sugar control. Moderation in terms of a lot of us, including me, do carb counting and use the Daphne protocol, which is dose adjustment for normal eating. So you eat whatever you want and you take insulin according to what you're eating rather than the other way around. But a lot of people misuse this in order to eat, for example, and I did this, I used it to eat ice cream for like every single day for a month and eat chocolate again and again, and I sort of lost control, and I found that moderation is really key over here. And by using a variety of techniques, I mean use Daphne in combination with the switch list, which is if you eat something with high carbs, you switch out something else to compensate for the carbs. For example, if I want to eat dessert after a meal, I probably don't eat bread at that meal and I only eat a lot of protein and vegetables so that I can eat the dessert. Now, why this is a better thing to do is because it's simply the same thing as if you were making healthier life choices. For example, if you wanted to eat a packet of chips but you were on a diet, you probably would eat lesser of something else that day so that you could incorporate that packet of chips into your diet. And that's simply the same principle that we are using over here. These are some of the things that I do which help me maintain my A1c between 6 and 6.5. My latest A1c was 6.2. So, and since my diagnosis, it has never crossed about 6.4. So I do think that these tips are pretty helpful, and at least they work for me, so they might work for you too. And I would strongly suggest trying them out, but again, not without consulting your healthcare professional, because when it comes to taking decisions about diet, insulin, etc., since we are making these changes for ourselves, sometimes emotions come into play and we're not able to take the most logical or the best decision for ourselves. So it is always good to consult a doctor when taking such sort of decisions, so that we can mitigate the risks involved with them. But besides that, I know that diabetes management is something that requires a lot of hard work to be put in on a daily basis, but the hard work does pay off when it comes to results, because your A1c is basically a test of how well you've been managing your diabetes. So the hard work does pay off, and in the long run, look at it as you are investing in your own healthcare, and you are ensuring that you live a longer and healthier life. So why not make that investment, and why not put in that work for yourself? Well, that's it for this week. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a huge thumbs up. Subscribe for more videos, because I put up videos on a weekly basis, and don't forget to share this video. Every video shared helps raise more awareness about type 1 diabetes, and that is a huge thing in India. So thank you so much again. If you have any questions, my Instagram is linked down below, so you can hit me up on that, and I'll see you again next week. Bye. My legs are killing me, by the way.